Hello everybody, I'm Godot Guru, and today we're gonna add UI to our zombie shooter, just like this little shop right here, and also this little pause menu like that. And as you can see, we also have that little money label down there, and when we kill some kind of zombie like this, then we get some money like that, and we can also buy some new weapons. So yeah, let's start the video. Okay, so let's open up our player scene and then go over to 2D view. Then right click on the canvas layer and make a new node. And this is gonna be a panel node like this. Then go here and expand it over the entire screen. And I won't be changing the color because I really like this one. Then double click on it and I'm going to call this pause menu. Then right click inside of it and we're gonna add a button like this, just a button. Then for the text I'm going to use quit, and I'll also go down and in the theme overrides, in the font sizes, I'll set the font size to 30. And then in the layout, I'll open up the transform. And as you can see, the size is on 80. So I'll set the minimum size on the X to 100 like this. And now it's a bit wider like that. Then I'll drag it over right around there. Maybe this is still a little small, so let's go down and make the font size 50. And now it's a bit bigger. And right there, and maybe let's set the size to something like 150, and now it's pretty good. Then just align it there, and now just go here and anchor it to the center of the screen, and then just drag the position on the X just like that, a bit before the crosshair starts, so around there. And yeah, that's pretty good. Then double click and rename it to quit like this, and duplicate it, and this one is gonna be called play, and also change the text to play. And I'll also just go over to the layout, and in the transform on the X, just move it to the other side, just like that. And right there, this is pretty good. And maybe the pause menu itself is a bit too dark, so let's click on it. And right there, theme overrides, styles, and just make a new style box flat. And right there, expand it, and in the background color, I'm going to set everything on 0 like this, and then just drag this alpha over down to around 100 like that. Yeah, this is pretty good. Maybe even a bit less, so something like 80, and I really like this. Then let's also click on it and duplicate it, and then double click and call this one def screen. I just realized that the pause menu is actually supposed to be called pause screen, like that. Then hide the pause screen, and in the def screen, change the play to instead be restart, and also the text, make sure to set it to restart. And then let's go down, and in the layout, let's look over to the size and set the minimum size to something like 250, and then move it over so it will fit. Something around there is pretty good, and then we can just save. Then let's go up and then right click on the canvas layer and make a new label node right there, and this is gonna be called money, just like that. Then in the text, let's put money like this, something like 100. Then in the label settings, make a new one, and for the font, I'm gonna set the size to something like 30, and I'll actually align it to the bottom of the screen right here, so bottom center like this, and that's pretty good. Let's also set the horizontal alignment to be on center, and also go down, and in the layout, in the transform, set the position on the Y to be minus 10 or 5 maybe. Yeah, minus 10 looks pretty good. And that's very much the UI that we need. Now we get to the shop. So just duplicate the dev screen and also hide the original dev screen. And we'll call this one shop like this. Then let's delete the restart button and just take the quit button and instead call it close. And also go over and set the text to close. And I'll just go down here and instead of 150, I'll set the size to be on something like 200, and that's pretty good. Then let's align it right there to the center over there. So something like that is pretty good. And set the position to 10 on both axes. And I really like that position. Maybe set the minimum size to 190 instead. And for the shop, we won't have the HUD behind. So let's go over and just hide it right over there. But we do want the money. Then go to the shop and right click and make a new node. And this is gonna be a scroll container node, just like that right there. And I'll just put it at the center. And then in the layout, I'll go over and in the transform, let's set the size to be something like 600 on the X and 500 on the Y, and then center it again. And I think this is a pretty good size. Then right click and let's add a new vertical box container like this, and let's expand it over the entire thing, just like that. Then right click inside of it, and let's make a button right here. For the first one, I'm gonna call it Mac 10, because that's the first weapon we're going to buy. And also make sure to set the text right here. And let's also add a dash and write the actual price. So in this case, 500, I think is pretty good price. And then let's go down, and in the theme overrides, again, just set the font size to be something bigger. Let's say something like 20 or maybe 30, like always, is pretty good. And before we duplicate this button for the other weapons we are going to add, let's click right here and attach a script to it. And this is gonna be called weapon underscore button, like this. And again, just select all of the code and paste this new code. And this is a really simple code. Right here you can see I just make this little buy function right here, and then I take this route. This is just the player node, as you can see, like this, just a reference, and then I call the buy weapon function with the name of the actual button. Let's also make sure to click on the button and then go to node. And after we save everything, go over to the press signal, double click it, and then go over right there into the button itself and select the buy method right here, and then connect. And now we'll see the connected sign right here. Then back in the 2D view, go over and duplicate it. And the second one is gonna be the shotgun, like this. And you can just copy the name and just put it over here. And for the price, I'm gonna put 1000, then duplicate it again, and this is gonna be the AK-47. Then for the price, I think something like maybe 2000 would be pretty good. So yeah, just like that. Of course, you can add many more weapons if you have and choose other prices. I just think that this looks pretty fine. By the way, if you want to space out the weapons a bit more, you can go over to the vertical box container, and in the theme overrides in the constants, you can just go over and set the separation to something bigger. By default, it's 5, but if you set it to something like 10, then you'll have more spacing like this, and I think this looks a bit better. You can also make the buttons a bit higher, so just select all of them, and down in the layout, go over to transform, and the current size is 50, so let's set the minimum size on the Y to 60, and it will look like this, which also looks a bit nicer. But for now, this looks pretty good. Then let's make sure that we are actually ordering the weapons correctly. So right there, let's put the PEW up here, because that's gonna be the first weapon that we have. Then the Mach 10, then the shotgun, and go down and do the same thing for the actual weapon right there, like this, not inside, like this. Yeah. And let's also make sure to correct the names of the actual weapons. So PEW all with caps lock, then Mach 10 with the space, just like that. Then the shotgun, the first letter, and the AK-47 over there. So it will align with the name of the button and also the crosshair, but you don't need the crosshair to be exactly. I forgot that we don't actually have the space in the Mach 10, so let's correct it also on the button right there and save, also in the text. Then let's go to every single weapon. And right here, this is gonna be the PEW. We don't really have to mess around with the price because it's gonna be usable from the start, but of course you can change it. Then we have the Mach 10. We'll set the price to be actually 500, but we'll set it to be unusable. Then the shotgun, also unusable, but at a 1000 for the price. And the AK, also unusable and 2000 like this, and we can save them. Then up in the player script, go over, and we'll need to make some more functions right here. But before that, we'll need to add some variables. So right here, let's just duplicate this little health variable like this and call it money like that. And let's default it to 0. Then let's duplicate the dead variable, and we're gonna call it in underscore UI. And then let's also add this little variable. It's just gonna be an onReady variable that is called the money label, and make sure to just align it with the actual reference of your money label. So let's go over, and I'll just completely delete this, and let's drag this one. It's gonna be the exact same, but work. Then let's go under the crosshairs, and right here, let's just paste this right there. Let's go down. These are gonna be the pause screen, the dev screen, the shop, and the HUD. So let's just make sure that we have all of them. Then over in the ready method, we'll go over, and before anything, we'll set the engine.timescale to be 1. This is to make sure the time actually runs. If it's 1, then it runs normally. If it's 0, then it's completely frozen. And also make sure to hide all of the other screens apart from the HUD. Then we'll need to update this little part. So right there, let's just select everything and instead put this. It's pretty much the exact same. We get all of the children under the weapon holder, which right there, it's exactly all of the weapons that we have. And then set the player to be this one. So it's exactly like before. But now we set the weapon count to be right there. Instead of this, we'll set it to 0 by default. And then for every single one that is actually usable, we'll make sure to increase it by 1. So now we take into account only weapons that we can actually use. And then for every single one of the crosshairs, we'll make sure to hide them because before they just stayed completely visible. Then under the ready function, we'll go down here and just add this new little function. And this is gonna be the add money function. And right there, we just take the amount and make sure to add it to the amount of money that we have and then update the text like this. This is to make sure that when we kill the zombies, we can actually call this function to add the money. It also goes the other way around because if you want to decrease the money, we just put a negative amount and it will also work. And also to update the money text at the start, we'll go down here and also call add money on 0. Just a simple way to do it. Then let's go all the way down to the input function, and right there we'll just add this little part to make sure that if time is frozen, then we don't actually take input. And right below that we'll add this little by weapon function. This just takes the weapon name that we also pass in the weapon button here, and then we try to get the actual child from the weapon holder by the name. So we just make sure that we actually have a weapon that is named by the name that we passed. Then if we either don't have the weapon or that we don't have enough money over the price, then we return and don't do anything. Otherwise, we call the add money function with the negative price. So we lower the amount of money that we have by the price of the weapon. And then right there in the crosshairs, we just make sure to find the child. And then right here, we have this really long reference which we'll just delete for a second. And this is gonna be from this little guy, the box container that we added in the shop right there. Let's just put it here. This is just to make sure that we also find the child and then make sure to hide it by the name. This is when we need the weapon name to be accurate because with this function, we'll just make sure to take the button from here and make sure that it just disappears. So right there in the 2D view, if we hide the shotgun, then you can see it just disappears from here. So this is when we need it. Then on the crosshairs, we make sure to move the child just like that to the weapon count. This is just to make sure that if we bought the AK-47 before the Mac 10, then the AK-47 will actually be the second weapon and not the last weapon because then you'll not pass through anything. Just a little thing, you don't really have to think about it. And we also do the same thing for the actual weapons. And then just increase the weapon count because we got another weapon. Then let's go down to the bottom of the script and paste this little chunk of code. This is all the code for the UI. So let's go up and right here, this is the first part. It's really easy. Just the quit function. Right there you can see I just get a tree and quit. This is how we close the game from the code. So let's go over and connect all of the quit buttons to this. So up here we have this first quit button in the pause screen. Just click on it and in the node connect the press signal to the player, but before let's go over and save. Then connect the signal on the player to the on quit press function right here and connect. Then do the same for the dev screen right there, quit, connect. And then we also have the restart button, which will just take the tree and instead just reload the current scene. So restart, right there, press, and the restart function, right there, connect. Now that we also have a restart button, we'll just go over and instead of just reloading the scene right here in the take damage function, we'll go over and replace it with this part. This will just make sure to freeze time. Then it will show us the dev screen and then it will also just set the mouse mode to be visible so we can actually interact with the UI. So now when we die, we'll just see the dev screen and not just automatically restart. Then we have the play press. So right there in the play button, just go over to the node, connect it right here to play, connect. And what this does is to make sure that in UI is set to false. I'll get over to it right there when we get to the pause. Then we hide the pause screen, set the time back to normal, and then we also capture the mouse. Then we have the pause function, and this is actually connected with an input function. So let's go over to project settings, and in the input map, let's add a new action, and this is gonna be called pause. And then down here, add a new event. And you can use escape for this, but escape is to automatically quitting the game. So I'll use this little quota key and just click OK and close. And then let's go up, and in the physics process function right up here, let's just go over to the top and paste all of these lines. The first one is if we're dead, because before we just automatically respawned and restarted the scene. So now we also need to completely block this function when we are dead. Pause action, then I pause, and the same thing goes for the shop, which I forgot to add. So project settings, and in the input map, add shop. And for the key, I'm just gonna use Q and click OK. Then let's go down, and right there you can see if the shop is visible, then I don't do anything. This is because I don't want to be able to pause when I'm in the shop. Then if the pause screen is already visible, which means that I'm in it, then I call this on play press function. This is to sort of press on the play button instead, so it will automatically play if we're trying to pause again, and then it will not do all of the other things. Then it will set in UI to be true, and now I'll also get to what it does. But before that, you can see I just show the pause screen, freeze time, and make the mouse visible so we can interact with the UI. And now for the in UI part, we need to just go up right here into the physics process, and right after we do all of the normal player things and then get to the weapon stuff, we'll go right here just like that. And if we are in UI, then like this, return, and that's it. So if we are currently in the UI, we won't be able to like switch weapons or aim or reload or shoot and everything. This is why we have that little variable. Then let's go back down, and we'll soon get to this function. But before that, let's go over to the toggle shop function, which, as you can see, if we are currently in the pause screen, then we get back. This is because, again, we don't want to open the shop when we are in the pause screen. Then if it's visible, so we are actually in the shop, then I want to capture the mouse. And for some reason, I wrote it like this instead of this. So let's go over and set it so I don't confuse anyone. But just note that it's actually the exact same thing. So I capture the mouse, set the time to be normal, hide the shop, show the HUD, and set in UI to be false. And if we're not, then I do everything exactly the opposite way. So this is a pretty simple function, just to toggle the shop with one button. And now to the little UI sound. This is the exact same function that I added to the GTA series. This will just take some kind of node. In this case, I'll just go up, and you can see it's the canvas layer. And then for every single one of its nodes, it will check if it's a base button, so if it's some kind of button. And if it does, then it will connect the press signal to be activating this little reference that we'll soon add, and then play it. And then it will also set up the sound on all of its children. So we'll go from here, then it will be the HUD, the pause screen, the dev screen, the shop, and then it will go to every single one of its region. So like the ammo, the crosshairs, the health bar, the quit, the play, all of that. So it will go for every single node inside of this canvas layer. And if it's a button, then it will connect to this. And this is just a reference to an audio stream player, and it will just call play on that. And right now we don't have it because I didn't add this sound yet. And right here from itch.io, like in the GTA series, this is gonna be the UI sound effects pack that I'm gonna use. It's completely free and you can find it in the description. And the sound I use for this one is just the cursor number 4 and from the OGG format, so you can use it if you want. Then let's just close, and then we'll just go up right here into the canvas layer and just drag it right under it like this. And as you can see, it's right here. And if you want to make sure that the reference is correct, just completely remove it here and just drag it over right there, and it should work. And now we are probably done with the player, and we can go over and just add this single line to the zombie, so not even in the zombie scene, just go over to the zombie code. And before that single line, we'll actually need to go up right here and just add these two variables, so you can just configure the minimum amount of money and the maximum amount of money that you can get from the zombie. And let's go down, and right there, when the zombie is dead, we just go over before the timer right here and just call the add money function on the player with a random range between the minimum and maximum money. This is a pretty simple function. And now we can finally save. And before we run the scene, I of course forgot something in the player, so let's go over. And under the add money function, let's go down and call setup some UI like this, and then drag the canvas layer like I said, and of course I didn't actually do. And now we can finally save and run the scene. And as you can see, we start with only the PAW and we can't change to any other weapons. And if we click Q, then you can see the shop, and I can click on every single weapon and it won't do anything, but it will do the click just like that. And we can also just close right here, and it won't work because I didn't connect the button. So let's go down, and in the shop button, just click on pressed and connect this signal right here to pick, and to the toggle shop function right here, connect. And now we can run the game. And now if we click Q and back in the shop, now it will close it like this. We can also just click on the same button and it will close. Then let's go around, and then let's just pause for a second. And as you can see, the game just stopped. We can do anything, and we have the play and quit buttons. If we press on quit, then just get out. And if we just pause again, then you can see play, and we just play, or just pause and press on the same button again, and it will work. And trust me, you can't open up the shop. Then just wait for a zombie right there. And he died. And you can see that for every single one we got some money. So let's try to get the Mac 10. Hopefully without dying. Ultimate gameplay. And now that we finally passed 500, let's just go to the shop and choose the Mac 10. And as you can see, it just disappeared and we lost some money, but now we can close and switch over to the Mac 10, and now we are actually able to do things. Hooray, this is really good. And we got way too much money because it's way too OP and this game is really unbalanced, but I hope you made it a bit better than me. I just think that this is a too OP of a weapon. But I'm still somehow dying. Oh my god. I died. Okay, and as you can see, I can both quit, which we already know what it does, but we can also just restart. And as you can see, everything is back to normal, and we lost all of the weapons and the money, and everything sucks. But we can buy the Mech 10 again, so I guess that's something at least. And yeah, this is it for today. I hope you like this video. And this is very much the end for the zombie series. The next part is just gonna be a little episode about the touch controls if you want. So if you don't, then yeah, this is it. The next one is gonna be probably a racing series with also multiplayer. So I really hope you like it. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I see you next time. Goodbye.